The night was silent but not peaceful. The battlefield smelled of smoke, burnt metal, and dust. The stars above looked calm, but down on the ruined planet everything was broken. Buildings lay in pieces, streets were full of ash, and the cries of war still seemed to echo through the emptiness. A lone human soldier walked slowly between the ruins. His boots crunched over shattered glass. He held his rifle tight, scanning left and right. The war had taught him never to relax, never to trust the silence. Silence often meant danger. Silence could hide enemies waiting in the dark. He was tired, but his face was hard. Years of battle had carved lines into his skin. His eyes were sharp but heavy with memories he could never forget. The war had taken friends, brothers, and even his faith in peace. To him, this planet was just another mark on the map. Another mission, another fight, another night of survival. But then, through the stillness, a sound came. At first it was soft, like a breath, almost too weak to notice. The soldier froze. He lifted his weapon and turned toward the broken wall ahead. The sound came again, a trembling voice. A voice too thin, too fragile to belong to a soldier. "Please, human." The words made him stiffen. His finger hovered on the trigger. Who would call him like that? The aliens he fought were fierce, proud, and hated humans. None of them begged. None of them whispered like this. He stepped closer, slowly, carefully. The beam of his helmet light cut through the dust and shadows. Behind the wall, half hidden by rubble, was a small figure. The soldier narrowed his eyes, his weapon ready. It was a child. No, not just one. Two. An older girl, thin and trembling, was holding a smaller body in her arms. The younger one was still, her face pale, her lips cracked. The soldier blinked. Children? Here? He had seen civilians before, yes, but they usually ran, they hid, they cursed humans, but this one... She looked straight at him. Her eyes were wide, shining with fear and something else. Desperation. The girl swallowed hard, then whispered, again, "Please, human, just one bite. For my sister." Her words cut through the air sharper than any blade. The soldier's breath caught in his chest. He had been called many things, killer, enemy, monster, but never like this. A plea, a cry for mercy. He looked at the younger sister in the girl's arms. The child's chest rose and fell faintly. She was barely alive. The older one clutched her tighter as if holding her small sister could keep her in the world. Her hands shook. Her voice broke. "She is dying. Only one bite. Please, human." The soldier's training screamed inside. His mind, enemy, enemy, enemy. His orders were clear, no help to aliens, no kindness, no trust, but his heart remembered. He saw his own little sister back on Earth years ago, laughing in the garden. He saw her crying when he left for war. He remembered promising to come back. Now this alien girl's eyes looked the same, filled with fear, filled with hope, filled with love for her sister. His grip on the weapon tightened, then loosened. The war around him seemed to fade for a moment. The world shrank until it was only him, the child, and her plea. The soldier knelt slowly. His light revealed their faces more clearly. The older girl's cheeks were dirty, streaked with tears. The younger one's lips barely moved, whispering something too faint to hear. The soldier's chest ached, though he did not understand why. Still, doubt burned in him. What if this was a trick? What if enemies waited, watching, testing his weakness? His finger touched the trigger again, but the girl lifted her hand, not to fight, not to strike, only to beg. Her small fingers curled weakly in the air. "Please," she whispered. "For my sister." The soldier's heart pounded. He could hear his own breath inside the helmet, loud, heavy. He had killed enemies without thinking. He had followed orders without question, but this was something else. This was not a fight. This was a choice. He stared at them for a long moment. The night around them stayed silent. Only the soldier's breathing and the girl's broken voice filled the air. The plea hung between them. One bite, one act of mercy, and a soldier's humanity trembled on the edge of decision. The soldier stood frozen in the shadows of the ruined street. The alien child's voice still echoed in his ears, soft but unshakable. "Please, human. Just one bite, for my sister." His mind screamed at him to move, to decide, but his body refused, caught between two worlds, the world of orders and duty, and the world of mercy and heart. For years he had lived by rules: obey without question, fight without hesitation, show no weakness. Every commander, every training session, every mission drilled the same lesson into him. The aliens are the enemy. They are dangerous, clever, and unforgiving. Show them kindness, and they will stab. You in the back? Trust them and you will die. He had believed it. He had followed it. He had survived because of it. But now, in front of him, was no soldier, no enemy fighter, just a thin child holding her little sister, their faces streaked with dirt, their ribs showing through their fragile skin. No weapon in sight, no strength left to harm anyone. The soldier's jaw tightened. He looked down at his belt. There were rations clipped to it. Emergency food packs meant for soldiers. He knew exactly how much was there. Enough for 3 days if he was careful. Not much. Not enough to share. Every bite could mean life or death for him later. His training whispered again, "Do not give it away, soldier. Do not waste it on the enemy." But his heart, heavy and restless, whispered back, "They are only children. They will not survive the night without help." The older girl shifted her sister in her arms. Her thin shoulders trembled under the weight. Her lips cracked as she spoke again. "She has not eaten for 2 days, human. I tried to find food. But there is nothing left, not in the ruins, not in the streets. I beg you, please." The soldier clenched his fists. His mind swirled with memories he had buried deep. He remembered another night long ago when his own sister had been sick. She had cried, weak and pale, her small hand gripping his. Back then, he had stolen bread from his own ration and given it to her. Back then, he had promised her that he would always protect her. Now here he was, light years away, facing the same choice. But with alien children instead. He turned his head away, as if the sight of them was too much to bear. His chest felt heavy, like a weight pressing down. He could hear his commanding officer's voice in his mind, sharp and cold. "Soldier, you are not here to play savior. You are here to win a war. You are here to follow orders." But then, in his heart, he heard another voice, smaller, gentler. The memory of his sister's laugh, the memory of her hug, the memory of her calling his name when he left home. The girl's words pulled him back. "If she dies, I will have nothing. She is all I have left." Her voice cracked, and she held her sister tighter. The soldier looked at them again. The younger one's eyes fluttered weakly, her breaths shallow, her lips parted as if to speak, but no sound came out. Her life was slipping away right there in front of him. The soldier's stomach twisted. He could almost feel his humanity slipping too. What kind of man could walk away from this? What kind of human would he be if he turned his back now? And yet, the fear of punishment burned in him if another soldier found out he could be reported. Helping the enemy was betrayal. Betrayal meant trial, prison, maybe even death. The army did not forgive kindness to the enemy. It called it weakness. And weakness had no place in war. His finger tapped on the side of his rifle. He could end this right now, he thought. One quick trigger pull, 2 less enemies to worry about. No questions, no guilt, no punishment. That would be easy, simple, safe. But his hands shook. He had killed before, yes, but never children. Never someone who looked at him with such raw hope. Her eyes begged for life, not for herself, but for her sister. It was a kind of courage he had rarely seen even among soldiers. He crouched down slowly, his armor creaking. The girl flinched at first, clutching her sister tighter, but then she realized he was not aiming at her. He was closer now, close enough to see the hollow cheeks, the bruised lips, the fragile rise and fall of the younger one's chest. He reached to his belt and pulled out a ration pack. He stared at it in his hand, the dull silver wrapping shining faintly under the ruined sky. This little pack was survival. To give it away was dangerous, foolish, reckless. But to keep it would mean letting the child in front of him watch her sister die. His hand trembled, torn between instinct and heart. He thought of his fellow soldiers, sleeping back at camp. Would they call him a traitor if they knew? Would they spit at his name, call him weak, call him broken? And yet a quiet voice inside him said, perhaps weakness is not giving food. Perhaps weakness is turning away. He closed his eyes, fighting himself. Minutes felt like hours. The war around him seemed far away. It was only this moment now. A soldier, a child, and a choice. Finally, he opened his eyes again. The girl's stare had not left his face. Her lips trembled, but her gaze was steady. She waited as if her life depended on the decision he held in his hand. The soldier exhaled slowly. The ration pack crinkled in his fist. He had not yet given it, but in his heart, the choice was already made. Something deep inside him whispered, humanity is not in orders. Humanity is in mercy. The plea that breaks the wall. The soldier's fingers tightened around the ration pack. He had not handed it over yet, but the choice weighed heavy in his hand. The alien child's eyes followed every small movement he made. Her breath caught. Each time the silver packet crinkled, hope and fear wrestled inside her gaze. One small decision from this armored stranger could mean life or death for her sister. He swallowed, his throat dry. For a long moment, silence stretched between them. Only the faint wheeze of the younger sister broke it. Her chest rose shallowly, her lips cracked and dry. The soldier felt his heart twist, but his mind still clung to doubt. What if this was a trap? What if more aliens waited, watching from the shadows, testing him? The older girl must have read the hesitation on his face. Her lips parted and she spoke with a trembling voice. You think I lie. But I do not lie, human. We had parents, once, but they are gone. The war took them. The fire burned our home and the soldiers took everything else. We hid, my sister and I. We ran through the ruins. We searched for food. But the streets were empty. The war ate everything, even the people who lived here. Her voice cracked, but she forced herself to continue. We are not fighters. We have no weapons. We never carried hate in our hearts. We only had each other. And now, she will die if you walk away. She will die and I will be left alone. The soldier stared at her, his breath slow and heavy. Every word she spoke painted a picture he did not want to see. He had told himself countless times that war was necessary, that every alien was an enemy, every death a step toward victory. But looking at this girl, thin and trembling, he saw no warrior. He saw only a survivor clinging to the last thread of family. Her arms shook as she pulled her little sister closer. The younger child's head rested against her chest, too weak to lift. She was strong. Once, the girl whispered. She laughed, she sang when the nights were dark, she told me not to be afraid. But now she has no strength left to smile. Tears ran down her cheeks, leaving clean lines on her dirt-stained skin. She is my sister, my blood, my world. Please, human, just one bite, one piece. I ask for nothing more. The soldier's grip loosened on the ration pack. Her words pierced deeper than any blade. He felt them scraping against the walls he had built inside himself. Walls made of duty, of orders, of fear. Walls he thought were unbreakable, but the girl's plea pressed against every crack, forcing them wider. He remembered his own sister again. Her laugh, her tears, the way she had begged him not to leave for the war. Back then he had promised he would return. Back then he had believed he could protect her with the strength of his uniform. Now, light years away, he could not protect her. But here, he could protect someone else. Still, the soldier hesitated. His voice finally broke the silence, low and rough. Why do you ask me, a human soldier? Do you not hate us? Do you not see me as the enemy? The girl lifted her chin, though her lips trembled. Her answer was quiet but steady. Hate will not feed my sister. Hate will not keep her alive. If I hate you, she dies. If I beg you, maybe she lives. I have no choice, human. I choose hope. Even if it kills me." Her words struck him like thunder. For years he had believed humans alone carried the will to endure, that it was humanity's gift to fight, to hope, to rise. But this small alien child showed him something greater. She chose hope in the face of certain loss. She begged her enemy to save her sister, not for herself but for the fragile life she carried in her arms. The soldier's chest ached. The wall inside him cracked wide. Duty shouted in one ear, but in the other, humanity whispered louder. He looked at the ration pack again. It seemed heavier now, not just food but a symbol of choice, a symbol of what kind of man he would be when this night was over. The girl pressed her forehead against her sister's. Rocking her gently, she whispered softly, words the soldier did not understand, but he could hear the love in her tone, the desperation, the raw devotion. Then she looked up again, tears still fresh. Her voice was almost gone, but her words cut through the air with force. "She is all I have left, human. If you save her, you save me too. If you walk away, you kill us both." The soldier's hands shook. The pack in his grip crinkled loudly. He thought of his comrades, his commanders. He thought of punishment, of betrayal, of weakness. But then he thought of something else. His sister's smile, the sound of her laughter, the warmth of her hand in his. He thought of the promise he made to her long ago, that he would never stop protecting what mattered most. And in that moment, the plea broke through everything. The wall inside him crumbled. The soldier was no longer just a fighter, no longer just a machine of war. He was human again, human enough to feel, human enough to choose mercy. Slowly, deliberately, he knelt down. The ration pack shook in his hand. His armored glove reached forward. The girl's eyes widened, hope flooding her face. The soldier placed the pack in her trembling hands. Her fingers closed around it as if it were a treasure. She gasped, her lips forming a silent, "Thank you." Tears fell freely down her cheeks. Her younger sister stirred faintly, the faintest breath of life returning at the smell of food. The soldier watched, his chest heavy but lighter all at once. He had crossed a line. He knew it. There would be no going back. But for the first time in years, his heart did not feel hollow. For the first time, he felt alive. The alien girl's plea had broken the wall, and in its place stood something stronger than orders, stronger than war, something he thought he had lost forever. Humanity. Humanity revealed. The ration pack rested in the girl's small hands. Her fingers shook as though she feared it might vanish. Her wide eyes darted up to the human soldier, half expecting him to take it back, half unable to believe he had given it at all. For a moment neither moved. The soldier remained crouched, his armor dim beneath the broken starlight. The girl clutched the pack close to her chest, her lips parting as if to whisper thanks. But no sound came. Her throat was too dry, her heart too heavy with disbelief. Finally, with trembling urgency, she tore open the silver wrapper. The faint smell of preserved bread and protein drifted into the night. The younger sister stirred, her nose twitching, her lips quivering at the scent of food. It was as if her frail body remembered hunger more than her mind. The soldier watched silently, his jaw tight, his stomach twisting. Every sound, the tear of the packet, the rustle of the wrapper, echoed in his head. He knew how much those rations mattered. He knew he might pay dearly for this small act. But seeing the child's weak arms reach for the food made the risk feel small. The older girl broke off a tiny piece of bread. She didn't eat it. Instead, she pressed it gently to her sister's lips. "Here, little one," she whispered, her voice trembling but tender. "Just one bite. You must stay with me." The younger child's lips parted. Her teeth barely grazed the food. She chewed slowly, as if every motion cost her what little strength remained. But when the piece slid down her throat, her chest rose more firmly. Her eyes, dull and glassy a moment before, fluttered open. She blinked weakly at her sister, then at the armored human kneeling nearby. The soldier's breath caught in his throat. He had seen countless faces during war, anger, pain, hatred, fear. But he had not seen this in a long time. Hope, fragile, trembling, but alive. The older girl broke another piece, smaller still. She guided it to her sister's lips again. Her own stomach growled with hunger, her thin frame desperate for nourishment, but she ignored it. Every crumb she gave away, every bite she saved for her sister. She chose her sister's life over her own. The soldier's chest tightened. His mind, trained to judge, whispered, "Foolish. She should eat too." But his heart answered, "This is love. This is sacrifice." He had not seen such devotion even among hardened comrades who swore brotherhood in battle. Yet here in the ruins, two alien children showed him the purest form of loyalty. The older girl's hands trembled as she offered another bite. Her sister's eyes grew clearer with each small piece. Color touched her cheeks again, faint but real. A faint smile even flickered on her lips, weak but full of trust. The soldier turned his face away, his jaw clenching hard. For the first time in years he felt something sting his eyes, tears. But soldiers were not supposed to cry, not in war, not in front of the enemy, not even in secret. He ground his teeth, forcing the feeling back. But inside, something long buried stirred, something he thought war had beaten out of him. Compassion, a sound in the distance broke the moment. The crunch of boots, faint but real. The soldier stiffened, his training surging back. Another patrol? Another squad? If they found him kneeling here, feeding enemy children, if they saw the ration pack torn open, he would not escape punishment. The girl froze too, her hand hovering with another bite. Her wide eyes darted toward the noise, then back to the soldier. Panic flickered across her face. She feared not only for herself, but for him too. He realized it in her gaze. The plea was no longer only for her sister's life. It was for his safety as well. The soldier rose slowly to his feet, towering above them again. He gestured sharply for silence. The girl pressed her sister closer, muffling her weak breaths. The boots drew closer, voices muttering in the distance, his heart hammered. This was the risk he had taken. Not just breaking orders, but being caught in the act of mercy. He stepped forward, placing himself between the children and the approaching patrol. His rifle hung ready, though his true battle was no longer with bullets. It was with time. Could he shield them until danger passed? The voices grew louder. A beam of light swept across the ruins. The soldier ducked low, motioning with his hand for the children to stay hidden. The older girl's eyes widened as she nodded, clutching her sister tightly. Her small frame melted into the shadows. Only her eyes glimmered faintly, watching him, trusting him. The patrol passed near, their laughter rough, careless. They were not searching carefully tonight. Perhaps too tired, too sure the area was already clear. Still, the soldier's palms sweated beneath his gloves. Every step they took made his muscles tighten. One wrong glance, one careless beam of light, and everything would unravel. Minutes crawled like hours until, at last, the voices faded. The boots grew distant. The patrol disappeared back into the maze of ruins. Silence returned, heavy and fragile. The soldier exhaled slowly, his shoulders easing. He turned back toward the children. The older girl's eyes glistened with relief. She did not speak, but her trembling lips mouthed a silent thank you. The younger one, half conscious, clung faintly to the piece of bread in her hand. Even in her weakness, she held on to hope. The soldier crouched again for the first time. He felt the strange weight of their trust, not forced, not demanded, freely given. He had spent years fighting, destroying, obeying. But in this single night, two frail children gave him something far heavier than orders. Responsibility. He reached to his belt, pulling out another ration pack. The girl's eyes widened in shock. He held it out, his voice low, gruff, but steady. "Eat too," he muttered. "If you fall, she has no one." Her lips parted. Stunned by the unexpected kindness, she hesitated, but the soldier's stare was firm. Finally, with trembling hands, she tore off a small piece for herself. Her teeth sank into it, her eyes watering as taste touched her tongue. It was not much, but it was enough to keep her strength, enough to keep her standing. The soldier looked away again, hiding the strange burn in his eyes. He told himself it was nothing. just survival, just necessity. But deep down, he knew. This was not duty. This was not war. This was humanity. And, for the first time in years, he did not feel like a soldier obeying orders. He felt like a man choosing to be human. Danger around the corner. The ruined street was silent again, but the soldier's pulse had not slowed. His breath came heavy, inside his helmet echoing in his ears like a drum. He had just broken the law of his world, the law of war. He had shared rations with the enemy. He had hidden them from patrol eyes, and now every shadow felt heavier, every sound sharper. The two alien children huddled close against the rubble. The older girl fed her sister another crumb, her hands still trembling. The soldier watched them quietly, his rifle hanging at his side. For a brief moment he let himself feel calm. But calm never lasted long in war. A sound split the silence again, this time louder, nearer, not just one pair of boots. Many. The rhythm of marching steps rolled down the ruined street like thunder. The soldier's body tensed, a full squad moving in formation. This was no careless patrol. This was inspection. The girl froze, her eyes wide with fear. She clutched her sister close, pressing her small frame deeper into the shadows. The soldier raised one hand sharply. Stay quiet. Stay hidden. His eyes swept the street, calculating. 10 soldiers at least, their voices carrying through the dust. They moved with purpose, scanning every broken wall, every collapsed building. They were hunting for survivors, or worse, spies. The soldier's throat tightened. If they found the children, there would be no mercy. They would not ask questions. They would call them enemy spawn and finish it. And if they discovered him protecting them, he would be dragged back in chains. Branded as traitor, executed without trial. The boots grew closer, the clank of gear sharp in the night air. Their helmet lights flickered across rubble, cutting through the dark. One beam passed only inches from the soldier's shoulder. He froze, his heart hammering. The children did not breathe. Even the air seemed afraid to move. The squad leader's voice barked out, deep and harsh. Check every corner. The command wants this sector clean. No stragglers, no survivors. The soldier's gut twisted. No survivors. The words echoed like a death sentence. His eyes darted to the girls. The older one's lips trembled, her arms locked around her sister's frail body. Her gaze met his, full of silent panic. A single question burned in her eyes. Will you let them find us? The soldier's breath burned in his chest. He gripped his rifle tight. His orders were to let the squad do their work. But his heart screamed otherwise. If they searched too closely, if they looked behind this wall, the girls were finished. One soldier stepped closer. His boots crunched over broken glass. His helmet light swept across the shadows. The beam crept closer, closer, sliding across the wall toward where the sisters hid. The older girl buried her sister's face into her chest, shielding her with her thin arms. The soldier's finger twitched on his trigger. If the beam hit them, he would have to act fast. One wrong move and he would not only betray his comrades but also condemn himself. The squad member's light stopped. It lingered on the rubble pile just a breath away. The soldier's muscles coiled like a spring. Sweat rolled down his back beneath the armor. The world seemed to hold still, waiting. Then, a shout from another soldier broke the silence. "Captain, over here, we found something." The light swung away, the soldier turned. The squad rushed to the far side of the street, their boots thundered past, voices echoing as they gathered around whatever had caught their attention. The human soldier exhaled slowly, his body trembling from the storm inside. He turned back toward the children. The older girl's wide eyes glistened in the dim light. She mouthed silent words again. "Thank you." Her hand still clutched her sister as if she might vanish at any moment, but the danger was not gone yet. The squad's voices carried across the ruins. One of them laughed harshly, another cursed. Then came the chilling command, "Clear the buildings, no stone unturned, move in pairs." The soldier's stomach dropped. They were not leaving, they were spreading out, systematically searching every corner, every shadow. It was only a matter of time before someone circled back here. He looked at the girls again, the older ones, lips pressed together, her shoulders shaking. Her sister had drifted into weak sleep after the food. Too weak to move, too weak to run. Escape was impossible. The soldier's mind raced. He could not fight his own squad. 10 against 1 was suicide. He could not run with the children. Armor and weapons slowed him. Their frail bodies could not endure the speed. He could not hide them forever. Searchlights and scanners would eventually find them. Yet still he could not abandon them. That choice was already behind him. His humanity had already spoken. There was no turning back. He pressed a hand against the rubble, steadying himself. The girl's eyes locked onto him. She did not speak, but the plea in her gaze was louder than any scream. He nodded once sharply. The choice was clear. If he could not fight the squad, he would deceive them. If he could not escape with the children, he would mislead the search. The boots grew nearer again. 2 soldiers broke off from the group, scanning toward his side of the street. Their lights danced across broken walls. The soldier rose to his feet, standing tall in his armor, his rifle held casually. He stepped out from the shadow deliberately, making himself visible before they looked too closely. The 2 soldiers stiffened. "Corporal?" One of them called out, surprised to see him. "What are you doing in this sector?" The soldier's voice came steady, though his chest pounded inside. "Securing the east side," he lied flatly. "Nothing here. Rubble's dead. Move along. Before you waste time." The pair exchanged uncertain glances. One of them raised a light toward him. It brushed against his armor, glinting. For a moment, suspicion flickered in their eyes. But he stepped forward, meeting their gaze with the cold confidence of habit. "Orders are clear," he barked. "Don't linger. Finish the sweep." The soldiers flinched at the authority in his tone. Then, after a pause, they nodded and turned back. Their boots thudded away. Their lights vanished into the maze of ruins. The soldier's chest heaved silently, his fists unclenched. He turned, back once more to the rubble wall. The children had not moved, but the older girl's eyes shone with tears. She had heard everything. She knew he had just risked more than food for them. He had risked his life, his honor, his place in the army. She bowed her head low, her lips trembling. In her language, a whisper slipped out. A prayer, a blessing for the human who chose mercy over law. The soldier did not understand the words, but he felt them. He felt their weight, their warmth, and for the first time in years he realized that his heart, long hardened by war, was beginning to soften. But danger still lingered. The squad had not gone far. They were still sweeping, still hunting. This night was far from over, and the soldier knew every second from now on would be borrowed time. The turning point, the ruined city, fell quiet again, but the silence was no comfort. The soldier stood still, his rifle heavy in his hands, his breath thick in his chest. Around him, the echoes of boots and orders slowly faded into the distance. The squad had gone deeper into the ruins, chasing shadows, searching for survivors that no longer mattered. But in the small pocket of darkness behind the wall, 2 lives still breathed because of him. He turned slowly, his armor creaking. The older alien girl still crouched low, her sister clutched tightly in her arms. Her wide eyes met his, eyes full of disbelief, gratitude, and fear all at once. She had seen how close they came to death. She had heard him lie to his own comrades to protect them, and she knew as he did that from this moment onward, nothing could ever return to what it had been before. The soldier lowered himself back into a crouch. His rifle lay across his knees. Now, but for the first time, it felt like a burden instead of a shield. He had carried it for years, obeyed every command that came with it. But tonight, it felt like chains that bound him to a war he no longer believed in. The younger sister stirred, a faint sound slipping from her lips. The older girl hushed her gently, brushing dirt from her face. She looked back at the soldier, her eyes softening. For the first time, her fear was less than her hope. The soldier broke the silence, his voice rough and low. "You should not have survived this long," he muttered, almost to himself. The girl tilted her head, not fully understanding. He exhaled and continued, "This world, it kills everything. The war takes the strong, the fire takes the rest, yet you're still here. Her lips trembled, but she lifted her chin. Because I must be. Because of her, she said softly, glancing down at her sister. She is my reason I could not stop even when I wanted to. Even when I was too tired to run, I carried her. The soldier studied her carefully. Her body was thin, her clothes torn, her skin bruised, yet there was a strength in her eyes that no weapon could match. It was the same strength he once saw in his own sister, the strength to endure not for oneself, but for someone else. Something shifted in him then. He had told himself he was only helping them for one night, one act, one bite of food. But deep down, he knew that was a lie. Once you cross a line of mercy, you cannot walk back. Once you give your humanity, it does not stop at crumbs. It grows, it demands more, it asks, will you protect them tomorrow? Will you risk everything for them again? The soldier's chest tightened. He realized the war he fought was no longer the same. The battle was no longer against aliens or enemies. The battle was now inside him, between the man he was trained to be and the human he wanted to be. The girl spoke again, breaking into his thoughts. Why? She asked quietly. Her voice was soft yet steady. Why did you help us? Why risk your life when your orders say no? The soldier's throat closed. He did not have an easy answer. Years of war had taught him to silence questions like that. But now, under her gaze, the truth rose in him, raw and unshaped. He looked at her, his voice slow, halting. Because, once long ago I had a sister too. She was small, fragile, but she was everything to me. And when she was weak, I gave her my food so she could live. I left to fight this war. But I never stopped thinking of her. The girl's lips parted, her eyes softening with understanding. You see her in us, she whispered. The soldier looked away, ashamed. He did not want to admit it aloud. But she was right. Every time he looked at them, he saw the face of the girl he had left behind on earth. Every plea for mercy echoed his sister's voice. Every glance of hope tore through the armor he had built. The older sister shifted, her small hand resting gently on his armored knee. Her touch was light, almost weightless, yet it carried a power stronger than steel. She did not speak, but her eyes told him everything. She trusted him now, fully. The wall between human and alien had cracked completely. In its place there was only one truth: family. The soldier exhaled slowly, the weight of choice pressing down on him. He had betrayed his orders already, but tonight was only the beginning. If he walked away now, leaving them here, they would not last. The squad would circle back. The hunger would return. The war would swallow them whole. To protect them once was mercy. To protect them again would be rebellion. And yet, as he looked at them, two fragile lives clinging to each other in the ruins, he knew rebellion had already begun. It lived in his chest now, beating with every breath. The war inside him was over. The soldier's heart had chosen. He rose to his feet, towering above them. The girl blinked up at him, confusion flickering. But then he extended a gloved hand toward her. Stand, he said firmly. She hesitated, then slipped her small hand into his. His strength pulled her gently upward, steadying her thin frame. The younger sister stirred again, safe in her arms. The soldier looked around the ruins, scanning the shadows. The squad was gone for now, but they would return. The night was not safe. The world was not safe. If the girls stayed here, they would die. If he stayed with them, he would be branded traitor. But if he left them, the weight of their faces would follow him forever. The soldier's voice came steady, heavy with meaning. You cannot stay here. They will come back. They will search again. They will not stop. The girl's lips pressed tight, her fear rising. Then where? She whispered. The soldier looked at her. The answer formed slowly in his chest. I will find a place, somewhere safer than this. But you must trust me. The girl stared at him, silent. Then she nodded once, firm and sure. She did not have to say the words her eyes already had. She would trust him with her sister's life, with her own, with everything she had left. The soldier turned his gaze upward, to the ruined sky filled with stars. For years he had fought for victory, for survival, for orders, but now, for the first time, he felt he was fighting for something greater. Not conquest, not duty, but the fragile, stubborn hope of two children who refused to let go of each other, and in that moment, the soldier understood the truth he could never unlearn. His humanity was no longer chained by orders, it belonged to his choice, and his choice was clear. The turning point had come, and there was no going back. The legacy of one bite. The soldier stood tall beneath the ruined sky. His armor was scarred, his rifle heavy, but his heart felt heavier still. Beside him, the alien girl clutched her sister close, her small frame trembling yet determined. They were silent, all three, listening for the distant sounds of the squad. But the night, for now, was still. The soldier's eyes scanned the horizon. Broken towers, collapsed homes, streets buried in ash. Every corner whispered danger. Every shadow held the memory of war. Yet in this fragile silence he understood something he had never felt before. This was no longer a mission. This was no longer about orders. This was about choice. And he had already made his choice. The younger sister stirred again, her faint voice breaking the silence. She whispered something weakly in her alien tongue. The older girl bent her head, tears in her eyes, and whispered back. The soldier could not understand their words, but he understood their meaning. Comfort, love, hope. The kind of words that were stronger than war. He knelt beside them, his shadow stretching long across the rubble. You must rest, he said, quietly. They will return, and when they do, we must be gone from here. The older girl nodded, exhaustion plain on her face. She had carried her sister through fire, hunger, and fear, but her body was near its limit. The soldier saw her knees tremble, her hands shake as she held the child. He reached out slowly, deliberately. Let me carry her, he said. The girl hesitated, clutching her sister tighter. Her eyes narrowed with caution. Trust was still new, still fragile. But then she looked into his face. She saw not the mask of a soldier, but the shadow of a brother who once carried his own sister. And after a long breath, she nodded. Carefully, she placed the small, frail body into his arms. The soldier held the younger child against his chest. She was so light, so fragile. He could feel the shallow rhythm of her breaths through his armor. Her head rested against him, her tiny hand curling instinctively around the edge of his glove. Something inside him cracked further at that small touch. It was trust, pure and simple. A trust he had not earned, yet one he could not betray. The older sister walked beside him as he moved through the ruins. Every step echoed softly. Every shadow seemed to watch them. But together they pressed forward, not soldiers, not enemies. Just a man and two children bound by need. Hours passed. In silence, the soldier guided them through broken alleys and collapsed tunnels. He knew the city well. Every patrol route, every checkpoint, every blind spot. Years of war had carved its map into his mind. Now, for the first time, he used that knowledge not to hunt, but to hide. Not to kill, but to protect. At last, they reached the hollow shell of a once tall building. Its roof was gone, its walls cracked, but deep inside, beneath layers of stone, there was a cellar untouched by fire. A secret place few would think to search. The soldier led them down, the dim light flickering as they entered. The air was cold, but it was shelter. For the first time, the children could breathe without fear of boots in the dark. The older girl laid her sister down on a ragged blanket she carried. She knelt beside her, stroking her hair. The soldier stood at the entrance, his rifle ready. He kept watch, his ears sharp for danger, but his eyes kept drifting back to them. The sight stirred something deep, something war had buried under years of killing and orders. Family, the word pulsed in his mind, not as memory, not as loss, but as something alive. Something here these two children, alien though they were, had become a mirror of what he had once loved most. And in their reflection he found himself again. The older girl spoke, her voice soft in the stillness. You saved her, she said. Her language was broken, her words halting. But he understood. She is alive because of you. Her eyes glistened. I cannot repay you, I know, but I will never forget. The soldier looked at her, his face unreadable behind his helmet, but his chest tightened with a weight he could not describe. You owe me nothing, he muttered. She shook her head firmly. No, I owe you everything. One bite, one act of mercy. It changed everything. For her, for me, for you too. Her words struck deep. Yes, it had changed everything. One bite had turned an enemy into a child. One plea had turned a soldier into a man, and now nothing could undo it. The younger sister stirred again, her weak voice whispering something. Her sister bent low, listening. Then she looked at the soldier, her lips trembling into the faintest smile. She says, "You are not enemy." The soldier's chest ached. He turned his gaze away, but the sting in his eyes betrayed him. Not enemy. After years of being seen as only a weapon, only a killer, two small voices had given him something else. Something human. The night wore on. He stood guard at the cellar's entrance, his rifle in hand, but his thoughts drifted far from battle. He thought of his own sister, light years away. He wondered if she was safe, if she still thought of him, if she would ever know what he had done tonight. Perhaps she never would. Perhaps the galaxy would never hear this story. But in his heart, he knew it mattered. Because in this one act, in this one night, he had remembered what it truly meant to be human when dawn touched them. Broken horizon. He looked out at the pale light. The war was still raging, the orders were still clear. But he no longer cared. His path was his own now, and it was not written in blood or command. It was written in mercy. He turned back into the cellar, where the children still rested. The older girl stirred, blinking sleepily. Her sister slept more peacefully than before, her breathing stronger, her small chest rising and falling with new life. The soldier felt something like pride in his chest. Not pride in war, not pride in victory, but pride in survival, in hope, in the simple truth that kindness had saved a life. He crouched beside them, his voice low, steady. This is only the beginning, he said. They will hunt us. They will call me traitor, but I will not leave you. As long as I live, you will live too. The girl's eyes widened. Her lips parted, but no words came. Instead, tears slid silently down her cheeks. She bowed her head deeply, a gesture of respect, of devotion, of trust. The soldier reached out, resting his gloved hand lightly on her shoulder. For a brief moment, the war outside vanished. There was only them, an unlikely family, bound not by blood but by choice. And when the soldier looked at the two sisters again, he knew the truth that would follow him forever. In the end, humanity was not measured by strength, by weapons, or by war. It was measured by mercy, by the willingness to give one bite, to answer one plea, to see life where others saw only enemies. The soldier stood once more, lifting his rifle with renewed purpose. The war was not over, but for him it had changed. He was no longer fighting for victory. He was fighting for something far greater, the fragile hope of two children who had taught him how to be human again. And so, under the pale light of dawn, the soldier took his first step into a new war. Not the war of armies, but the war for his own soul. A war he intended to win, because one bite had melted the armor around his heart. One plea had given him a reason worth living for. And from that moment on, the legend of the soldier who chose mercy would echo beyond battlefields, beyond planets, beyond stars, a legacy born not from bloodshed but from humanity.